Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about Cryotic, and it will seem slightly random that I'm talking about Cryotic now because his latest scandal, which we're going to get into, was over 2 months ago at this point, I believe. The reason why I waited to film anything in the first place was that I kind of believed there would be a follow-up or a clarification or something else to explain the current situation. So the current situation, or the situation when that last video was posted, was that Cryotic, who, if you don't know who he is, I'm gonna put like a brief summary here. So in his last video, Cryotic pretty much admitted to having conversations with minors that were inappropriate. None of the conversations ever left the internet in the sense of they never turned into physical relationships. So I guess that is somewhat of a positive, though it doesn't really negate the fact that he was having inappropriate conversations with minors that he allegedly did not know were minors, which we'll get into. But anyway, he posted one of the strangest, in my opinion, apology videos that I've ever come across, mainly because it sounded like a narration rather than someone saying, okay, I did this, this, and this, I fucked up, whatever. It sounded like he was reading a story, but the story was reality, and it is a very grim reality because effectively minors were being groomed, so I don't feel good about that in the least, but I figured we could watch the apology video together. It's only about 4 minutes, and talk about it because I remember when I originally went to see this apology video, it had more likes than dislikes. Yes, an apology video where a grown-ass 31-year-old man talks about cheating on his girlfriend because he was having some sort of weird relationship with minors online had more likes than dislikes at the time. Now there are more dislikes, but not by such a crazy amount. There still is a strange amount of support. Considering we've seen people get canceled for really stupid things, it was alarming to me to see the amount of support he was getting when I just don't think it's mandated in the least, especially since it's not really our place for the people of us who are not the victims of his predatory behavior. It's not really our place to be like, oh, I forgive you, because it's like, well, he didn't do anything to us. He did things to other people and they're the ones who can forgive him. But aside from that, it just seems strange to me that if someone admits that they were inappropriate with minors, that you'd immediately be like, oh, everyone makes mistakes. Like, yeah, people make mistakes. You might get your math wrong on shit, but making a mistake is not equivalent to just casually being inappropriate with minors. But anyway, let's just watch the quote-unquote apology.
I have a weird position on YouTube where I've seen a lot of things from a lot of perspectives and a lot of angles, and something that a lot of people, myself included, so before you start to think you're a fucking hypocrite, I want you to understand that I'm coming at this from a perspective of someone who genuinely does not like past me because past me was immature. Past me didn't accept that he could actually be wrong. Past me thought he was infallible. Every single time somebody makes a mistake in the world, people are like, man, I hope nobody finds out. And I think the thing that people realize is that's because from the fucking get-go, we're just taught, man, mistake, better hide it, otherwise I'm gonna be in trouble. We forgot to actually teach lessons instead of just getting mad. And so people grow up with a lot of pride and they realize, man, I'm so perfect. So if anybody fucks up, I'm going to project a lot of insecurities on those people because I'm infallible. When I was younger, I started this YouTube because I didn't really have a purpose in life. I needed something to give me some kind of purpose. I didn't have any actual confidence. I got my confidence from people telling me, man, you're great.
I understand the sentiment that he was going for here, but I do think that that sentiment is only really valid for mistakes that are actually quote-unquote human mistakes, like judging someone too harshly, perhaps not being good at communication. These are all things that most humans deal with and that are not shameful mistakes. As long as you improve or try to amend what you did, those types of mistakes are in one distinctive human category that probably every human at some point in life will fuck up. You can't put speaking inappropriately to a minor in that same category because, first of all, especially if you have some kind of fame or notoriety online, speaking to, I'm assuming, fans or supporters, whatever you want to call them, is a complicated thing because you still want to remain appropriate. Especially if you don't know someone's age, the best thing to do is assume that they're minors and act like they are and not become inappropriate in that particular way. But aside from that, thinking that you're infallible and all these other things, like, they all sound like platitudes because when it comes to minors and grooming, it just doesn't really apply. So it's not only incorrect, but it's frankly quite cringy. Listening to this, I just felt like I was listening to a Let's Not Meet story, and I love Let's Not Meet stories, but you can't put that same kind of vibe on an apology where you're explaining not only cheating on your girlfriend, but cheating on your girlfriend with multiple minors. As of now, there are allegations, again, allegedly, there are allegations that there are about 14 people he was inappropriate with. Apparently not all of them are minors, but nonetheless that he was not appropriate with. So when you're addressing something like that, to turn it into this kind of like story time vibe is... Anyway.
That was immature. Also, doing this, I had never really left my room for so long. I'd grown so much that I didn't realize I was a fucking adult, but I was mentally a child. That is not an excuse, for the record. I've always felt disingenuous because I was never open with people about things because I was always hiding things. I was never able to be genuine with people anymore after the fact that I cheated on my girlfriend with people who I didn't realize were even underage in the first place. So yes, I'm sorry. But I promise you I'm not that same fucking person anymore, and I resent that person who I was. And I'm sorry that I was hiding who I was this whole time. I've never wanted to be on a pedestal in the first place. And I think that's because I was always afraid of people knowing who I really was. Just some lonely guy trying to find a purpose. Just some lonely guy who genuinely is someone who would be considered a basement dweller, but luckily I live in Florida, so there's no basements. It took me 31 years. It took me until 10 minutes before my 31st birthday to realize I was going in a constant projection of fucking nothing because I never really accepted who I was. I always made excuses, and I'm fucking sorry for that. I'm not going to say any more because this is not some pity party. This is more addressing the things that need to be said, more so than giving people their dirt or tea or whatever the fuck they need. I just feel like people need to be able to express themselves, be them victims or not. I always considered myself a victim because of the way I was raised. However, that kind of mentality made me the actual instigator as opposed to the protagonist that I always thought I was because everyone said you're so perfect all the time. That's a horrible mindset to take, and everyone should really be able to look into themselves and see that they need to grow. They need to stop excusing every little thing they do because they're afraid of the repercussions.
When he mentioned that he was raised to always feel like or act like he was the victim, I think that was a bad move simply because mentioning that you think that you're always the victim, to me at least, automatically makes me think like you might very well be playing the victim here. And I don't think the format really works in his advantage because this kind of black screen dark story time mode he went into doesn't say, okay, hold me accountable, look at my face while I'm talking to you, listen to what I'm saying and see, my regret or my emotion in my eyes. Here it's just kind of like, it feels like a notes app apology read in a creepy story narration style. It doesn't feel like anything is really being said. And it's also like he pretty much touched on, oh yeah, the fact that I cheated on my girlfriend and talked to minors, and then just kept going without really mentioning that again. So it almost feels like the vague apologies you see on Twitter where someone's apologizing, but you barely know for what because they don't really talk about the actual problem. And I understand why, because it's a very uncomfortable thing to discuss because it's disgusting. That kind of behavior is disgusting. Grooming minors, speaking to minors inappropriately. Of course, you wouldn't want to bring attention to that, but at the same time, if that's what you're apologizing for, you kind of have to, or else it just looks like you're trying to be the victim effectively, whether you want to or not.
As soon as you start being afraid of the repercussions, you stop growing. I'm sorry. Genuinely. I have in the description an unlisted video showing that I would really like people to understand that it is okay to express their feelings. I feel like a lot of people are afraid of ridicule, prejudices, and bullying. They are afraid of people picking on them because they're showing their genuine human emotion. I feel like people need to be okay with doing that, even if it makes them be the bad guy, because that's the most human thing you can possibly do. And I'm fucking sorry again, but I promise I've changed. See you in the next one.
So the video description here says, edit for clarity. No, I was never with anyone underage on a physical level. It was all online, but this does not diminish the act. I just know this matters to those who are concerned. This is a very serious video. I'm not asking for anyone's forgiveness. I just feel this needed to be said before I could finally move on with my life, as well as so many others. You can't really live life when you're repressing yourself, and I feel like I've held back others as well as myself by just trying to protect my own selfish pride and not admit that I was horrible to others because I had no self-confidence in myself. I took that from them because I was ignorant in my position, because I always believed differently from the actual reality of, oh no, this is different. Blaming it on self-confidence, I feel like, is already not great, because it just feels like there's the continuous pursuit of a reason, like a reason why, but really an excuse as to, oh, I did this because I had low self-confidence. I did this because people were always telling me how perfect I was. And it's like, well, none of these things change anything though. No, that's excusing yourself. I was excusing myself and not admitting to myself honestly about how my actions genuinely affected others, and it inhibited so much goddamn growth that it isn't fair to anyone. Everyone is hurt by what you do, no matter how much you justify things. From the smallest thing, we just keep pushing insecurities and cripple self-esteems because we ourselves don't have any either. I'm so sorry I didn't, and it took me so long to find my own voice in all of this without sitting there trying to find the perfect words like it was some kind of game. So then, on top of that, he also pinned a comment saying, this video was made during a manic state and is not accurate of what a proper apology looks like. I deeply regret it, as I never let the actual discussion properly be had. This will be rectified in a future video after I properly address those affected individually, instead of how I chose to haphazardly go about this vain attempt to save face like a coward so many people have done before me. I do not want to delete it because everyone's concerns and complaints are 100% valid and should not be skirted around anymore. I apologize for my actions, but I promise to deliver a proper, coherent explanation, keeping truly factual description with no attempt at garnering sympathy, but addressing what needs to be said when people are hurting. I needed to come to grips that I was projecting my own insecurities constantly, telling people I never cared what people thought of me, and it is time for me as a man to address that and so much more. Thank you for your patience while I take care of these personal matters in the next few days, and I'll let my actions in the future speak for more than these words here ever will. So now I think you can understand the reason why I was waiting for a follow-up video, because it said in the next few days, so I kind of assumed that within the 2 months or so that passed, we would have had some kind of clearer explanation. Not that there's going to probably be anything to excuse any of that behavior, but rather just to understand the full picture and see if there was really an attempt at a genuine apology, or if it really all was still kind of just to get some sympathy. In the comment section, a lot of people were not having it. So like I said, back when I saw this, when this occurred, people were like, I forgive you, everyone makes mistakes, blah, blah, whatever. A couple of the top comments say, gonna use my dumb, edgy storytelling voice to admit that I groomed kids. That'll go down well. Or actually this one, which is something I thought about because it just reminded me of Onision. It said, this is the most Onision apology I've ever listened to in my life. And effectively, I don't know if Cryotic is planning on coming back. I don't really know where he's planning to go from here, but I just think it's interesting that he kind of addressed that this was a shit apology, but then completely went MIA. So now I'm starting to wonder, is he gonna stay away long enough so he thinks people are gonna forget and then come back and kind of just not really address it at all again? Because he's been banned from Twitch as of September 10th, I believe it was. And so I just kind of wonder where he's going in the future, because I really think that his actions were career ruining, but him not really addressing them fully, I think really put the nail in that coffin. You guys can let me know what you think. Let me know if you think he's actually going to post something else, or if he's just going to try and come back later without really talking about it. Let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and I'll catch you guys next time.